Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Vice Forecaster JD Rep with you in the Breaking Weather Center, and we just have a tornado warning. All right, we got this tornado warning that goes into effect. So let's zoom into the warning. This is a tornado warning that goes into effect at 6:30. All right, I think the tornado warning just updated. Let's see here. We're going to read this text to you. At 6:02, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 9 miles west of Elvin, 18 miles west of Helmston down here in Texas, and moving at 25. So hazardous ping pong ball size hail and tornadoes. So this is a radar indicated tornado right now, so you want to be seeking shelter. Basement be the smallest, the safest place to be in. Ground floor, and look at this hail, folks. Gosh, up to about 2 inches. So just get online and think about how much hail that'll be falling. That'll be a lot of updrafts falling through after storm. So that is a pretty decent size hail size. So we need to be keeping that in mind. Hold on a second. Gotta do something. So if you're in that tornado warning, now's the time to get centered and get covered. Move to the lowest floor. The basement will be the safest place to be in tonight. This is a tornado warning that goes into effect into around. Let's see. I'll pull up the thing here. Let me turn off these tracks that make it even better. The lines are not there, so this is just could be a strong storm, but producing up a 2-inch hail. So the thunderstorm warning goes into effect into about 6:45 for eastern Mills County, and that storm is really capable tonight of producing up the hail the size of the golf balls. So we need to be continue to keep that in mind. So if you're just joining us, this is at about 6 um, I still got that storm to producing up the ping pong. So definitely these storms are very potent tonight. They could produce a lot of hail with them. And you just joined us. It's about almost 6:08. You're starting to see some very strong storms down here producing some hail. And we've got a report just coming in. Sorry about I'm by myself this evening. Golf ball size hail reported from the Golden Height School area. So we're starting to see one report of golf ball size hail. So, folks, that is some very large hail in these storms. And we'll check and see if we have any debris aloft from this tornado. Right now, we don't have any debris aloft, so that's just pull up rotation. All right, we got that. Still some weak shears. So if you're all right, somebody just jumped on with me. All right, we have a tornado warning, Isaac, in place. So, and some very large hail also too.
Yeah, we had some spotty reports of golf ball size hail with that particular cell. I'm going to turn my opacity data off.
Yeah,
but I do want to show.
I don't mean to interrupt, but another report of $half size hail, and another report of a ping pong ball size hail over here with these two warnings here. So these storms are getting large.
Yep. So I will point out that this is the same cell that is producing that particular warning. I want to see if I can change my opacity data on that place file, but you can see obviously tornado watch for areas shaded in yellow, severe watch for areas shaded in purple, and I'll show you what we're talking about here. I'm going to zoom in here. We can see we got some pretty strong supercells. This one particular cell you can see has a little bit of an inflow notch. The rotation's a little bit weaker the way things are looking here. But again, I will point out that this this is a relatively healthy updraft with this cell. You can see also this is where we have a potential hail core with that. And again, it's likely again areas around Hamilton. This storm will be tracking towards some of these areas. And again, I will point out that we've had some reports of $half size hail with this. Also, history of golf ball size, but I think the updraft has a slightly. I'm going to download some recent data, see how this particular storm is behaving there. But yeah, we can see a kind of a weakening updraft, but still pretty concentrated where you're getting all that saturated air. So if anything, I think you're getting some pretty large hail with that core as it's tracking closer towards areas south of Hamilton, Texas, but still, again, just something to keep in mind. I would take a closer look here. So the Dallas-Fort Worth area, eastern sections of the Metroplex here near Rockwall, we're monitoring this particular cluster of storms. Looks like mostly accounting for damaging winds, some small hail potentially with this activity as well. Yeah, from the Weather Service, I was going to say we do have some broad wind shear with this. So I was going to say fairly weak on the wind shear with this, but I will point out, I think embedded within there, just not accounting for much of the storm motion or anything. I think we got some pretty strong downdrafts with these storms here, tracking north across the Metroplex, and we can see where all those velocities are changing. Again, this is where, we have some very strong downdrafts, but this storm has a history of producing some fairly large hail, most likely across the I-45 corridor from Hutchins to Ferris areas. I would expect that this particular cell is producing most of the severe weather, but Royce City, Rockwall, This cell will be tracking towards these particular areas in, again, this would be Rockwall, Texas. In this warning here, this is Rockwall County. This particular severe storm is tracking towards another severe storm here. This one, I believe, has some very large hail with it. MPing and spotter reports of $half sized hail with this. And again, looks like, I was going to say the updraft with this storm is still really healthy and it's fairly broad. You got a rotating updraft aloft, a little bit of a mesocyclone at the ground. If anything, there is some weak rotation there with that cell at the base of the storm. But just looking at what we have here, this storm is producing some fairly large hail, and estimates are showing that this could be over 2-inch in diameter hail at times. This will be approaching the Canton, Texas area here in Van Zant County. But again, we'll see how this storm behaves. This is where we have a very tight hail core here, getting ready to approach I-20. Some particularly large hail potentially here. The indication, I was going to say that the Weather Service has this warned for at least 2-inch hail. So again,
and we can't forget about our tornado warning too.
Yeah, of course. And again, I will point out this warning down here is north of Evant, Texas. We probably don't have many people in our follower base in this area, but I will point out that the rotation with this has broadened out. So we can see how things have trended with these past several scans there. But you can see some stronger outbound velocities here from the KGRK radar, and that would be based here in this would be near, trying to see where the radar is located, east of Georgetown. And I will point out that, again, you can see how that rotation, or we got some stronger winds, some stronger outbound velocities with this. Again, mostly rural areas in the path of this tornado. So again, we'll see how that definitely behaves. But again, just the overall synoptic situation here. Again, notice how we have a lot of upscale growth here with these storms, and as they have produced some very large hail. And again, we have some very strong downdrafts, and we're getting that convergence and that enhancing along this upper trough. And what I also like to see here is some of the mesoanalysis data here. And you can see how they have introduced that enhanced risk area. And they do have that mostly hatched for hail at this point. That's kind of the basis of that enhanced risk, where you have see that that negative tilt with that trough and how it converges with that primed low-level moisture environment. I'm going to see what the observations are suggesting, but the temperatures
are scale. Going to see another extension on this watch, I think.
Well, I mean, this is just a follow-up to the watch here. See, you can see, again, we do have some, I was going to say, we've had some fairly large hail with these cells here. And again, just saying, we've had quite a bit of low-level moisture, and that's on the increase. And now, again, a lot of the convection we're seeing here, we're seeing I see all of this is low level. This is surface-based convection, and you can see closer you get to the trough, kind of converging right around here, where you can see a lot of this is growing upscale. That is where we're getting these tornado-warned cells, and ultimately we got a lot of lift and enhancing with that trough. So that is going to help drive some of the wind shear, but also that brings in the much stronger winds aloft. And then all that saturated air that's with that updraft is going to really cool. And that's when you start seeing some fairly large hail. with these particular severe thunderstorms. Again, widespread, a lot of hail reports, potentially 1 to 2 inch hail. Now a spotter report of golf ball sized hail with this. This is, I think this has just been
Isaac, I got
received
something else
here.
to tell you too.
Golf ball
On the
hail
storm,
in Van Zandt County.
yeah, on the tornado warning, we had the hail showing up to 2 inches again. This little,
Yeah, I was going to
uh,
say,
uh, your
yeah, you can see that is what they consider just a signature where you have a little bit of rotation further aloft, and it sometimes you get a little bit of mixing here near the base of the storm. So you're getting a pretty tight, strong downdraft with that, and again, a lot of that is being mixed in with some surface-based convection. But I'm going to show you what's going on my end here. A pretty nasty hail core west of Canton, Texas, here in Van Zandt County. Potentially up to 2-inch hail with that. Already golf ball sized hail reported by spotters or by the public here. This is 10 miles west of Canton. But now if we can see here, yeah, look at the latest scan here. A very nasty hail core, a very nasty downdraft here. Some very strong winds with this storm, potentially well over 60 miles per hour. You can see, and again, there could be some, like with this particular cell, I think the wind shear is kind of broadening out, or it's still fairly broad, not really anything tightening up, but still some very strong. This is a very strong downdraft with this. And preceding that, you can see where all the low-level moisture is. The temperatures are in the 70s, and just how low-level moisture is on the increase here. So I think that is going to really help drive the severe threat closer you get to this trough. That really enhances your lift and wind shear that could tighten up along this area. So I would definitely be concerned, especially you folks in the watch area. I'm gonna show you again where those where we have our severe thunderstorm and tornado watches, meaning the conditions are favorable. Again, where we have all that surface-based convection there. Tightening low-level wind shear along the lead edge of that trough there, and that helps enhance our low-level shear as well, I will point out. And again, when we have some directional wind shear, and it could be a little bit tighter, we could get more of a wind and tornado threat. So I will point out this is again tornado watch. So the Dallas-Fort Worth area included in a severe thunderstorm watch. That's where we're mostly concerned about large hail being the main threat with that. But I will point out along the direct lead edge of that trough, that vorticity max as well. That's where we get that negative tilt. And I'm going to look at some of the mesoanalysis data here. And yeah, exactly. That's what they've pointed out. And yeah, the instability is much higher down in here. We can see at least 1,000 Cape with that. So I mean, you can see how up here we have the wind shear is more elevated. I think this is where we have our MU capes maxed out over this particular watch area. Again, this would be mostly along and south of the Dallas area, Fort Worth metroplex here into much of the central, extreme central parts of Texas there. But again, I always like to, see what a variety of the observations and upper dynamics are. Again, this this is the mesoscale analysis here. We can, I like to see how, again, we get plenty of surface heating here. And this is the lead edge of that trough there where the instability is at its highest there. Again, this is where we have that tornado watch, the area I'm highlighting with my cursor. And then we can see just how the lead edge, and you get that little bit of a tilt there. I think that's where we do have some lift. So again, all of see, this is a lot of surface-based convection we're getting there. Some surface heating. The temperatures are well into the 70s in some areas. And I will again point out this is again where we also have some enhancing on a lot of the wind shear that we again, effective wind shear just overall again. This helps me determine how, where we have the greatest wind shear here along the lead edge of that trough. I'm really interested in seeing how storms behave. And when you look at upper level shear, sometimes along the lead edge of that trough.
The tornado warning.
Yeah, I was going to say that rotation has weakened a little bit, so I think they allowed that
tornado
one
warning has
higher.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and again, effective shear of 70 knot. This is not confined to a specific altitude, though. That's where we have, a little bit of a low-level jet streak kind of developing there. And again, what I was going to say 3 kilometer shear. I think we're seeing a little bit of directional shear as well. We can see it's a little bit on the weaker side there. But still, I think it would be somewhat sufficient to produce a brief tornado or two. I don't think this is going to be the environment where we're going to see long track tornadoes.
No, that's tomorrow.
Well, especially over Texas and stuff. But we'll definitely get into some of the dynamics and everything that we're thinking about for tomorrow, because this could be a more regional scale outbreak over much of the Tennessee Valley, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. We'll definitely have more to discuss about that relatively soon. But also, I think the mixed layer instability, that's a lot of what we're seeing here is just instability driven. So we got that surface heating and low level moisture on the upward trend here. And again, we do have some, just over the next few hours, seeing how these storms do behave. I think helicity might be somewhat on the upward trend as well. While these may be like weaker tornadoes, I think there could still be a few tornadoes just given that surface heating and favorable wind shear, modest wind shear that we have in place. Over the next several hours, where they do have that watching effect. I think that's again, just given what we've been seeing with the mesoscale analysis, that's where they think the tornado threat is going to be highest here over the next several hours. And again, that's the enhanced risk is mostly on the account of how much lift and forcing we have. Again, just along the lead edge of that trough, you can see how a lot of this is growing upscale. Just seeing how things are looping on here, I think we might be getting a little bit of a gust and outflow boundary here from some of these storms as well. So what that also does, this feature that we're getting on radar here, just what I might be seeing here, just given the radar loop, that's a sign we got some enhancing there with the trough. We got some pretty good lift that helps drive storms upscale here. And again,
all right, new severe thunderstorm warning place. That runs effect at 7:30 for Hampton County, and this into about 7:30. At 6:25, a severe thunderstorm is located in your Hampton, moving and 60 miles of wind gusts. So this is a foreman, right?
So Yeah, I was going to say they're probably following up with the warning they have in effect here in sections of, yeah, this would be in
Here,
Hamilton and Bosque counties. It's pronounced
show
Bosque,
you.
if I'm correct.
It's starting to get a little spin there, folks.
Um, so,
And
yeah.
that's where you get the patient.
So I will point out there, this cell has previously been tornado warned. And I'm going to zoom in here. You can see some broad wind shear with this. Not anything I would consider tornadic necessarily. But again, this is a sign where we might have some stronger wind shear further aloft here. Yeah, we can see, it's fairly broad, but this is what I've been looking at again on mesoscale analysis here. Some of the stronger winds from further aloft here, and this is where we have a strong downdraft with this. So again, Hamilton County in Texas, near Hamilton, the city of Hamilton area south of there along Highway 281. This is where there's an indication here where there could be some very some fairly large hail here. Still a very healthy updraft with this, and I think there could be a hail core within there. I think where the hail is going to be largest along this downdraft, where again we do have some super cool air from further aloft sinking down and mixing in at the ground. That's where you're getting a lot of your hail. Yeah, I was going to say some broad wind shear with that. It's not necessarily very like tightening up by any means, but if it does, then I would pay close attention, you folks in Bosque County, into sections of Hill County. Yeah, it's just we'll see how this storm behaves, but definitely looks like mostly a hail threat with that particular storm. But also this thunderstorm here has some fairly tightening wind shear, a strong downdraft, and I think that's the basis of a tornado warning now for Canton area in Texas here. A tornado warning for central Van Zant County. This would be Fruitvale and Grand Saline areas. Within the next 10 to 15 minutes. And again, I will point out this because we have we don't need to read the whole text.
Read it.
Again, this is this is where we have a very intense downdraft, a very intense hail core, and this is a very nasty downdraft we're getting with this cell north of Canton. And you're seeing this very strong wind shear here. It may be broader, but again, at this level of the storm, but a lot of what we're seeing here near the ground is what I'm concerned about. Because again, we have a very intense downdraft here. Just looking at the radar returns, we're in this well into the purple color here near 70 dBz.
Wow, look at this hail.
Indication. There's
all right, we got
again
hail
very
size
strong
up to
wind. A what?
3.0.
Yeah, hail up to 2 inches in diameter. Yeah, that's what the National Weather Service has been advising here. And I think we got a very nasty hail core. Maybe the hail could be much larger too. And still, the updraft appears to be fairly healthy with this. So this is a very healthy supercell. And the updraft or the downdraft has considerably strengthened, which is probably an indication that the tornado threat with this storm, a particular storm, might be increasing some. So something that, again, what we're likely seeing here, very strong downdraft here. And again,
if you're in the one you need to take shelter.
Yeah, so again, Fruitvale, Edgewood, Grand Saline area. This is along United States Highway 80. But again, what we're mostly concerned about are the storms tracking into this particular environment here and along the leading edge of this trough here, heading west into I-20. We've been watching these cells as, watching these storms, seeing how they behave in this environment. But yes, some tight, some broad, maybe some increasing wind shear with this. And again, just indication where gusts could be around 60 miles per hour with this storm as well. So an intense downdraft with this. But I want to caution there could be some inflow here. Just watching the back flank of this. Again, this is where we have maybe this is converging over an environment here where we have more surface heating here. The observations here, the temperatures are higher in this area. And inevitably, I think the instability is on the upward trend here.
Look at that.
So this storm could be tracking into an environment where maybe, I was going to say, that's a possible debris signature associated with that. Obviously, according to the National Weather Service, nothing confirmed at the moment. But yes, I will. This could be clutter on the radar. It could, so I mean, this is like you can see the downdraft signature there, and I mean, this could be small debris that's associated with this. I'm gonna download some additional CC data. But yeah, this is.
So if you're in this tornado warning, you need to be seeking shelter now.
Yeah, I will point out this could be a spin-up tornado tracking into the Fruitvale area. But yes, again, to address most of the severe threat, I think Dallas area. I'm going to see if we do have that feature on radar, any surface-based convection. That's mostly to the south of Dallas at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think
this is spin up, Isaac, because it's right next to green.
Again, healthy updraft. So this cell could impact southern parts of the Metroplex here within the next couple of hours. Still will pay very close attention to how that develops. And I think, again, what the National Weather Service has been thinking here, I'm trying to address things better for anyone viewing us in the Dallas, Fort Worth vicinity there. We can see we do have some fairly modest high instability values here. A lot of surface-based convection there, and the lead edge of that trough will be hovering over the Metroplex here. Again, we're going to see how, we can see there's a corridor of much higher surface instability that quickly forms out of this. And again, there could be some very nasty cells along here that congeal into more of a linear cluster here. So maybe that will enhance some of the low-level shear you get with this. Again, a lot of this low-level moisture, that surface heating, will help congeal into this line. And I think this is where I'm going to – sometimes I like to just see what we have in terms of if there's a substantial increase of wind shear along the leading edge, because that may be, you may get some backing associated with that. And I'm going to zoom out better here. So, but yeah, you can see, I think, I was going to say, wonder if we could get some of the wind increase here associated with altitude here. But I will point out, that 500 to 800 wind crossover. Yeah, you can see, I think we're getting, this is definitely a front converging over an area of some particularly higher instability there. And you can see how that front really converges with that. And I will point out from 8 to 10 p.m. here, we see that the higher instability values there. You can see kind of could loft towards Fort Worth, Arlington there by 8 p.m. And then this is where we have, again, some of the, I was going to say the surface winds really shift to the north. So, I mean, very distinct change in the wind. And this is where, again, you can see further aloft where we have those much stronger winds aloft, much cooler and drier air. So a lot of the low-level moisture, and I wonder, and the UH-75 here, you can see, I think, this is where the updraft helicity indication here is over 75 N2S minus 2. So what that indicates here is these storms here, these cells may have some stronger updrafts here between Weatherford and Dallas around 9 p.m. Central Time, and heading into Dallas here, we're going to be watching these particular clusters of storms as well. And obviously good to look at some of the sounding data here. I think this is where the temperatures and instability may be on the downward trend, but I think this is where we have that axis where you have the highest instability. You can see just right around here. Again, like I said, some of the surface cape values may be in excess of 2,500 on the surface capes there. So, I mean, this is definitely primed environment here where you could get some supercells, again, sometimes capable of any mode of severe weather, from tornadoes to intense damaging winds and potential for very large, some instances of very large hail with this. And again, just looking at some of the sounding data, again, see the temperature is a little, the air is a little bit more stable and on this one, but we're still backed by some really intense wind shear. Just looking at, it's still fairly modest, some high, still some high instability further aloft. The MU capes could be as high as 2,000, just along the leading edge of these storms here. So if we get some much higher surface instability, maybe we get some, that slight CI. So the CINH number, those are negative. So that's an indication where, again, there's some lingering instability with this.
Yeah.
But if that temperature inversion there, we get a little bit of a drier, some drier air above the ground and a little bit cooler air that's not as saturated there. That could help enhance some of the lift you get at the ground. So it could still, so I mean, just looking at this sounding here, there is definitely the possibility of a couple of tornadoes with this activity, even still areas around Fort Worth, Dallas, even though these areas may be under a severe watch rather than tornado. So, but yeah.
More rotation.
Yeah.
And here, we do got more rotation with this one storm right over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell that wind shear is fairly broad. It's not really that tight by any means, but we'll continue to keep a close eye on that. But obviously, a very dangerous situation here, potentially to unfold within the next. I'm going to go more local zoom here, but what I always want to see how some of the data trends over time when talking with more robust and organized severe weather. You can see we do have that morning round of convection here at 2 a.m. Over the morning. We may get some gusty winds, heavy rain, of course, and then this is where we're starting to get in with that surface-based convection there, and that low-level moisture appears to be fairly significant here, and I think this is where the temperatures really do warm up here. You can see some surface-based cells really start to, and you can see how quickly you get some enhancing at the ground there. Some stronger. Again, these cells really do mature fairly quickly, which is also concerning to me because, again, this is where, again, there's a lot of surface and low-level moisture there. The tornado threat could really ramp up with that. You can see how
you guys not want to have enough time.
Really cluttered together, these intense supercells, and you got a lot of clearing and sunshine with that really enhances that low-level instability. that could make for a very dangerous setup here, especially across the Tennessee Valley. I think, again, southern Tennessee, southern parts of west and middle Tennessee, into obviously the Tennessee Valley here, and much of central into northern Mississippi. You can see where we have all these tornadic supercells over this area. And just looking at some of the sounding data, you can see temperatures and dew points in the 70s, some very high supercell composite and significant tornado parameter index values there with that, but also very significant low level, so a 0 to 3 kilometer helicity there. That you can see just the again, some very tight directional wind shear with this in some cases there. And again, possibility of a stronger tornado probably, most certainly, again, just over much of these areas.
Tornado
so again,
next to green. Red next to green is shown back over here by Hampton. That is the very strongest side of the rotation.
Yeah, I was going to say,
folks, this storm could produce some very large hail.
Yeah, I will point out the wind shear with that may be tightening up. Just
folks,
looking
we could be getting another tornado point right here by Hampton. You want to go because this storm could produce a tornado with the storm. And just
okay, well, I will point out
at, the track of this is going to be moving this way towards Morgan area. So we'll put things in a motion here, and you see that storm continue going that way. We have a tornado on the ground yet, do we? Or that, folks, we could just be dealing with some hail with some of these storms, and that's the problem. Up to 2-inch hail this storm, and look at this storm, Isaac. The hail.
Yeah, I was going to say that still is a pretty that still has a pretty good updraft with it. Not as well. Yeah, you can see we still have a very healthy updraft with that, and that's, you got a lot of saturated air in there. So again,
here's echo tops
and a lot of forcing and enhancing with that trough. These are fairly lower topped, but I will point out still modestly topped there at about 30,000 feet, maybe, where the storm tops are maybe a bit higher than that. Yeah, we'll definitely that cell will also be be moving into an area with maybe some higher instability as well. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that may enhance the tornado threat with that potentially over the next couple of hours. And again, the lead edge of that trough will be near the Dallas-Fort Worth area, just within the next 2 hours potentially, well, particularly over Fort Worth. Again, we've seen some of the model returns there, and I think we're in that environment there. Definitely large hail potentially there with that enhanced low-level lift, and these strong updrafts, and just a lot of the stronger winds we're getting out that low-level jet and whatnot. So I'm going to look at the 850 analysis there. We can see and we got a little bit of a jet streak that might be forming and advecting all that.
Hail has been hail was reported with that over here.
Okay, quarter-size hail, local storm report. This would probably be Kaufman County, Also,
That's the 1 inch.
eastern Dallas County, a report of 1 inch hail as well.
So, folks, you got to take these storms very seriously, and that's the biggest thing is the large hail we could go through. I think this could go on to dark hours.
Yeah, the severe threat may persist into the early overnight hours. Um, I will point out again the instability max. Well, again, the instability may wane down here as we head closer to midnight, of course. And I will point out the severe watch is the tornado watch is only in effect until 10 p.m. because the instability will be waning down by around that time. Yeah, all of these watches are in effect until 10 p.m. We're obviously heading into the overnight hours. There's not really much heating, and the instability kind of wanes down a bit, kind of inhibiting that um, threat of tornadoes. Maybe locally persisting after dark in some cases, but what we're mostly worried about is this morning round of storms, marginal risk of severe weather into tomorrow morning over sections of the Mississippi Delta. And that morning round of storms, obviously, we have the enhancing with that trough there, the slight risk of severe weather persisting maybe after dark at times there. But obviously, heading into tomorrow, eventually that morning round, again, the lead edge of that trough will track over much of the Ozarks into the lower Ohio, the confluence of the Mississippi, the lower to mid Mississippi Valley, lower Ohio Valley. I think that enhanced risk of severe storms and tornadoes may shift a little bit further north, maybe into the lower Wabash Valley. But they have the 15% area for tomorrow, and that this could always be. There is room to add a high risk, probably I think over mostly like middle West Tennessee. I think close, like in and around the Tennessee Valley, more than likely, where again the significant tornado parameters have been highest, and they've been trending relatively high. And what I'm really interested in seeing there is if you get the leading edge of that that negatively tilted trough converging well into that area, really enhancing that lift, which I think that really does impact the timing of storms. And like I've been pointing out, you can see how quickly you get all that low level moisture, and that quickly you can see all of this over here along the leading edge. This is where we do have some really good lift, some very strong instability that tracks into this area. Like all of a sudden you can get all that low level moisture, maybe some cumulus clouds developing some updrafts, but then boom, that it just turns into this. And then this is where you have those, and then you have all that room there, that surface instability.
That's not going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, you can see you can see some hooks, some inflow signature.
It's starting to get a little more tight on this storm in Hamilton County again.
And again, I am still interested in seeing some of the sounding data embedded within there, but still, several tornadoes likely tomorrow. Numerous, or several of these could be strong to long tracked. And this would be in the afternoon hours. We have another round. These could be multiple rounds of storms there. But I think this is these are some of the more intense tornadic supercells. You can see those updraft helicity tracks. See those are relatively long tracked there. And again, the updraft helicity tracks are not tornadoes themselves. Those are likely to be surface-based updrafts, and obviously this model data will end up changing. Well, you can see the biggest concentration there I mean, obviously, more of a moderate concern down here towards I-2059, but closer to the Tennessee River. This is where you got all that strong long track tornadoes potentially. This could be the corridor over more north central, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, middle and west Tennessee, or particularly southern, middle and west Tennessee. Something we'll have to definitely watch very closely. I'm gonna zoom closer into Tennessee and Kentucky too, because I want to see how the storms do pan out in those areas. But yeah, see these are the morning storms there, and you can see we'll definitely be waking up to some showers, some heavy showers, some rumblers, of course. But then you can see after that, you can see how that clears the area, and I think you get some stronger instability here. Not as much low-level moisture. This is mostly low Cape high shear environment.
I put an
So
Illinois
what that
storm
tells
watch on here
me,
too.
yeah, sure. And again, what I'm concerned about here, you can see even some of the lower surface capes, but you can see how wind shear and low-level moisture and everything is still sufficient there. Just the dynamics are trending at the surface. Some of these could be a little bit lower topped and cluttered together. So what I mean is that maybe the moderate risk could be it would be no surprise if they extended that moderate risk in like maybe into a tidbit of Kentucky and Missouri, but I think this is heading into 7 p.m. Maybe the peak instability parameters are on the slight downward trend after that, but still backed by some pretty intense wind shear, and you can see how these are pretty cluttered together. And I mean, the instability is a little bit lower. They're heading up to I-64, but still will note the potential for.
So you're talking about.
Yeah, so you can see the sounding data here. Again, what I will point out here, this is where Cape Girardeau is located, and you can see the storm mode will probably be a little bit messier when you get up towards Carbondale, Cape Girardeau, because you're not really seeing much instability along there. But what I will point out is the tornado threat will still be there, and you get this is a sign where you may have some influence there, some inflow, and you still got that enhancing. But I think the more negative tilt, where you have the strongest height falls and particularly enhanced low-level wind shear and highest, this is where we have much higher surface-based instability there, and you're not and you're dealing with the most sunshine and surface heating, low-level moisture, and everything appears to be much more of an issue further south you get. So I will point out these are very packed together, and that's also a concern because you get a more organized and a higher probability of seeing a tornado relevant within a further close distance to your location if you're in this part of the Mid-South or the Tennessee Valley. And you can see as we head into the maybe into the late evening hours, you can still see some of the higher updraft helicity tracks there north of the Tennessee, along the Tennessee River, the Tennessee Valley. But we do have some followers here in the Nashville area too. But yes, you can see still some. Yeah, I was going to say, I think the instability will be higher towards areas to your west, but I will point out still the possibility of seeing maybe damaging winds, maybe a tornado or two as far north as Nashville, probably as well. But again, these will probably be multiple rounds. So I mean, while again we have the most clearing and the highest instability just maxed out from, I would say, West Tennessee think Jackson probably, and Memphis also a concern for some of these tornadic supercells in West Tennessee. But
I'm
this is
concerned
where,
about that too.
yeah, so I mean, heading into northern Mississippi, Alabama, along the Tennessee River, the Tennessee Valley, that's where I think there is some particularly enhanced risk of seeing potentially strong, long track, violent tornadoes, probably. And that's where I think there's that possibility we may get the high risk issued by the Storm Prediction Center. Just I would say areas south of Jackson, Tennessee, may not Jackson, Mississippi, probably from maybe Selmer, Tennessee, towards maybe Tupelo, Fulton, Mississippi, maybe Florence, Huntsville, Alabama, into maybe Columbia, Tennessee, maybe as far south as, where this. I'm trying to remember some of the other vicinities within these sections of Alabama. I would say maybe northwest of Birmingham. Not probably not including Jackson and Mississippi, but probably south of Jackson, Tennessee, Tupelo, Mississippi probably would be included in where the highest tornado threat would be, just given what I'm seeing here. Again, where we have much stronger instability there, especially ahead of these first waves of rounds of storms here. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit further here over like the southern Ohio, like the Ohio into the Tennessee valleys there and its tributaries. But yes, you can see just how really packed together you get these strong storms backed by some of the stronger surface instability and enhanced low-level wind, some enhanced wind shear you're getting with this. So you can see that that's the environment where we have the potential for several strong tornadoes probably. And some of this sounding data indicates that while there may not be, again, if these storms are still if they're too packed together, you're not going to get much sunshine in and ahead of these cells. But I think just when you're looking at something like this, I think this is where it gets more textbook, more real looking there. You can see some stronger helicity tracks maybe packing a little bit further together across middle and west Tennessee. And I think this is still where there is a very substantial concern for tornadoes here heading into the late afternoon tomorrow. And just how quickly that low level moisture evolves and you get all that, then boom, it really within you just may get some cumulonimbus clouds that just develop there, or more cumulus clouds. And there may not be much rain associated with it at first.
Yeah,
but then you see these are all cumulus clouds. These could be puffy, strong updrafts, but then you get that convergence from that trough, and then boom, see all of these could be tornadic supercells within just a matter of an hour from forming from some cumulus clouds and all that low level moisture advecting from the Gulf, and then that's where again that environment's going to be very primed, and just this is as textbook as it gets right here.
Folks, you got to take this very seriously tomorrow. This is a particularly dangerous day.
Yeah, and then obviously a lot of the soundings here indicating possibility of a dangerous, or particularly dangerous situation here. See that an uncapped surface there. But again, I will point out, just look at how strong the wind shear is. The storm relative helicity 0 to 1 kilometers, 457 M2 minus S minus 2. So that is particularly strong wind shear there. And then look at how just you get that mixing from further aloft there, the enhancing you get from that wind shear further aloft there. Yeah, about 3 kilometers off the ground. That's where the instability is much higher. And you can see how we got a lot of directional wind shear there as well. And then when you get some of these downdrafts there, it may mix in down here. And then you can see how there's a cool pocket right in there. And then that's where you get some very, and then when you get those very high dew points and high temperatures well into the 70s, that can drive, those surface-based updrafts, and you got a lot of inflow potentially here. Just looking at that directional wind shear, everything looks to come together. Just looking at this sounding as textbook as it gets here. Just the thermal, the dynamics here at the surface there. I think that's really where it gets particularly concerning there.
For a second. Here, I was just talking for you a minute. But you got to have this. You got to have Marv. These storms are going to be cocking very fast, and you're not going to have time to wait. Well, all plugged in. You might want to keep your phone plugged in tonight, just in case you would lose power tomorrow. Tornadoes. We're not tornadoes tomorrow back to kill people, right, Isaac?
Yeah, most definitely. And what I'm concerned about, I mean, this synoptic scale event here.
We'll see in March.
I was going to say here. I'll show you what I'm talking about here, but I think this is where we have some fairly stronger instability. I think it's comparable to some, not necessarily like last week what we saw with some very strong wind shear. I think the capes were probably max. The surface capes were max a little over 2,000 with that. But I think just looking at some of the data we've been seeing here, I'm going to look at this SB cape, but I think this is going to be where it's a little bit higher. We got all of that low-level moisture, surface heating, and see, look how that very quickly there from the morning. Yeah, I was going to say this is very strong instability there, in excess of 3,000 surface cape. And then that is, and you can see just, yeah, I was going to say these are our storms right there, where you get a very tight gradient there in the capes. That is where you're getting those potentially tornadic supercells within there. And again, because you're getting that convergence, I think the just looking what I'm seeing here from 18Z, I was going to say very quickly there with, just within a matter of an hour, just given what we're seeing there. You may get just a little bit of low-level moisture. You could get some cumulus clouds in there. And then you get that really intense sunshine, and everything really heats up. Again, just within a matter of maybe just a little under an hour, you get cumulus clouds, sunny skies potentially, but then just within an hour, you get nasty tornado, supercells, and everything. Right? That's really nothing that I want to see too, because again, some people are mistaken. They think it's a nice sunny day. It feels a little sticky. You can play some sports, and then
folks, you're wrong.
Just within 30 minutes, you get some really tightening wind shear, and you get a very nasty tornadic supercell that bears down on you.
Yeah,
and that could be
I'm touch on
very
that for you,
dangerous.
Isaac.
So again, JD.
Those days where we do not want no sunshine tomorrow. This is a day where tomorrow, if any sunshine stronger, I mean, like I said, this is going to be stronger than the last time we went through. And I dare, if you go under a tornado wing, get centered tomorrow and get covered. If you go under a severe one, instability is really high. We have everything there for an outbreak tomorrow. We just got to see the storm prediction center rare when we see a high risk in it.
Yeah, and the Storm Prediction Center has been hinting towards a high risk in their latest discussions here from earlier.
Situation.
So again, I think unless there's a significant change in the data we're seeing. Normally, the Storm Prediction Center, it takes a lot of thought into determining whether a high risk or 30% in the tornado area is introduced. But looking at some of the high res guidance I've been seeing and just the very high significant tornado parameter values here, well into the high end, some of those very high end values, fairly spread out, very broad. So, I mean, this could be a more regional scale tornado outbreak. Then that also concerns me. So you're not just going to see a strong tornado in one area. You could see strong tornadoes like more widespread, and then there's even more of a concern for people. If you are off guard, something's on top of you, and you don't hear the warnings. There could be very.
Here's another thing.
There could be very catastrophic. There could be catastrophic damage to your area and loss of life for people that are off guard. So you need to really pay attention. You will.
Yeah, here's another thing.
You just need to really pay attention to the conditions in your area and take quick action when needed.
Do not wear flip flops. I know it's going to be warm outside. That's not a cut thing. I should know why, right, Isaac?
Well, yeah. Again, that's if there is tornado damage in your area. What you're going to want is some sturdy boots. So again, like for example, if we do see those high end like EF2, maybe you never know. Like the conditions may favor. You never know. Like you could get maybe some dozens of strong tornadoes. Like, but again. For those tornadoes, again, just remembering some of the more larger scale, stronger tornado outbreaks, like April 27th, we've had like almost half a dozen EF5 tornadoes. And again, you can never rule out, maybe there could be some areas that could get EF4, EF5 damage. You never know. But again, that's where, you get major structural damage to property. And again, that's where, some of the structural damage obviously goes down to the foundation. And again, and if something like that happens in urban areas, you get mass. You could be in a situation where like homes are homes are shredded to the foundation, and you have lots of wood. Like broken pieces of wood.
We gotta have to switch gears again.
Stuff on the floor.
Tornado.
I was gonna say. Yeah, the situation in Texas. Yeah, I was gonna say that. That
we got a damaging tornado.
I was gonna say confirmed tornado. Yeah, I was gonna say. Weather spotters. That wind shear is tightened up, and I've been following this on radar as it tracked east of Hamilton. But again, I will point out there have been some indications on Doppler radar. There is debris with this. So yeah, east of Hamilton, this would be along Highway 22 from Cransford's Gap towards Hamilton. Again, I will point out this would be Cransford's Gap in the Meridian State Park area in Texas. Again, some indications that there is a tornado in there. And again, a very nasty hook, a nasty downdraft with that. And again, that's where we're likely
to get centered, hail. Get covered now. You're under a tornado warning. So you want to get a mattress between you. Make sure you have a helmet with you. It's looking up right there. So this is the tornado warning. So this is we'll pull up for hail this one, and yeah, we're starting to get hail over about what, baseball or golf ball?
I mean, just the indication we're getting there. Just I mean, that's still a very healthy updraft. And the algorithms
Yeah,
here,
folks, this is pretty
I'm seeing
seriously.
here, I would say possibility of severe hail is relatively high with that. And there's a potential there, according to the National Weather Service. There has been some, this storm has had a history of producing at least golf ball hail, maybe slightly larger than golf balls being reported across this area. And ultimately, that's what leads
So,
to a lot
guys,
of
let's
crop
use your
damage,
radar real
roof
quick.
damage, dents to your vehicles and everything. And you really have to be very, very careful
Now, you want to
navigating
evacuate
that.
your mobile home. Yeah, Isaac, if you're
Yeah,
in
and
the
again,
mobile home, you probably want to let's see. Let's go back to radar. This is a damaging tornado and golf ball size hail. Flying debris who be deadly who cut out shelter. Put the next scan here, and this storm still looks like it's still showing green. You see anything
yeah.
different?
Well, again, I will point out for a majority of the people viewing us right now, again, this would be in parts of central Texas there. This would be southwest of Dallas, again, into Bosque County, eastern Hamilton County in Texas. So this would be about half an hour, maybe an hour or so away from Dallas, southwest of there. But yes, again, the lead edge of that trough
Figure
will
out where
be
you want to
near.
go at in case that storm would get worse.
Yeah, again, there is that. Again, for you folks in the
Somebody
metroplex,
text on here.
the lead edge of that trough will be near Fort Worth by about 8 or 9 p.m. And that's where you're likely getting a brunt of that that high surface instability, and you're being backed by some intense. You're still having to deal with some of that intense wind shear that could be elevated. You get the right conditions at the surface, you may be looking at tornadoes being a possibility,
Yeah. So
like
if
even
you're in this
extending into the
warning now,
metroplex and the surrounding areas. So something you probably want to pay close attention to if you are in north central Texas. Again, we've had a history of very large hail, maybe again, at least a report of a tornado, maybe a couple more. Yeah, some of these, several of these storms have been tornado warned. And again, the lead edge of that trough, still the axis where you get some of that higher instability. I want to see if we get some more southerly flow ahead of that can really help drive that instability. And I think there's still sufficient wind shear, but I think at times I think it's not going to be particularly very strong at the low levels, but I think you may still get some enhancing with the lead edge of that trough, that sturdy lifting you're getting, like that warm advection you're getting aloft with that. That can really enhance things at the surface too. Because you get that mixing, you get an intense downdraft. We've been seeing some very intense downdrafts with these storms here, and that indicates a possibility of potential strong downburst winds that have exceeded well over severe criteria, and then those can damage trees and like high diameter tree limbs, and some long tree limbs, of course, and then can topple power poles and damage roof shingles.
Stuff
right,
like that.
you're talking winds like that, and may also damage siding as well.
So if you're in the
and yeah, and again, there is that potential for a couple of tornadoes
right there.
Yeah.
That debris right there again in the air. So you probably want to shake shelter. Make sure you are in a homes are not going to be safe right now. So that's time to evacuate them. This is a damaging tornado, ice hail. So that is some pretty decent, strong, large hail with that.
Yeah, and again, I will point out this is also good advice for you
And you can
folks.
see.
A lot of us joining us may have concerns about tomorrow. Again, particularly across the Tennessee Valley, across parts of Mississippi and Alabama. That's where we have the highest fuel for tornadoes, some very high surface instability and strong low-level moisture
So you could go
returns
back
that have
talking
been
about that, and
trending
I'll keep
very
an eye on.
favorably. And the lead edge of that trough really does enhance lift, so that those will really drive your tornadic supercells with that. And again, that can also really enhance wind shear as well. So wind shear is a change of winds in altitude and direction or speed, with very little change of altitude or very little change in distance relative to wherever you're observing or wherever you're located. And
I'm pulling
with
some of
the
my tools
change
up.
so rapid, again, that's where you're getting some cool air really converging with that trough, and much warmer air and southerly winds at the ground with very high surface instability. And those will really enhance your tornado potential on a very rapid scale heading into tomorrow. And again, we've been seeing some of the higher ends values on the significant tornado parameter, and we've been following a lot of this very closely. And you can see, values over 10. That's really like almost like maxed out. And when you're seeing all that, and it's been trending highly favorably, still we've been seeing lots of 10s. Maybe it's not as broad as it indicates, but again, still indicating a very high chance of strong long track tornadoes in that correct environment. And just looking at the sounding data, you can see some very high surface instability, and the temperatures are very warm at the ground. But yes, looking at again, just very strong directional wind shear and low level lift, and very strong instability there. Those storms will quickly become very intense and tornadic, and conditions will rapidly deteriorate when you're in range of those supercells. So you really have to pay very close attention to the weather.
Supercell composite.
Yeah, the supercell composite. Those numbers are particularly concerning because, again,
we've why I'll show you why.
Very high,
almost a 17,
very high
folks.
values.
That's very high.
And again, I will point out, those numbers. Try and get more concentrated around the Mississippi, the Tennessee River. Those numbers are pretty high, even extending into northern Tennessee, the Boot Heel, Missouri, Arkansas, West Kentucky as well. Those are where you still have some very good elevated instability as well. So you may have some lower instability factored in at the ground, or at least somewhat lower. I mean, obviously, you're seeing all the 2,000 to 3,000 surface capes well into Alabama and Mississippi, where everything's predominantly surface driven. But when you have elevated instability too, that can really help drive storms upscale, and you still are up along the leading edge of the trough, and still some intense wind shear near the parent surface low. That will really help. That will even help the tornado threat extending into southern Illinois, into sections of Missouri, Indiana, the Wabash Valley, but also much of the Ohio Valley, parts of Kentucky as well, heading into tomorrow evening. and obviously Middle and West Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama as well, even heading into sections of Louisiana. Also, particularly something that we should be watching out for very closely, but the potential for very strong tornadoes, particularly over the Tennessee Valley. That's where I think our tornado threat will be highest, and the Storm Prediction Center is considering upgrading the risk category to high risk. That's 5 out of 5. But again, that takes a lot of discernment and thought before they issue something like that. But once again, still a very substantial tornado event here, extending into sections of the lower to mid Mississippi Valley, the Ozarks, the Tennessee Valley, Ohio Valley. Again, a lot of, I was going to say that's the fixed layer as significant tornado parameter.
Here's the last run.
Yeah, the last run. I was going to say, if you compare it to newer runs, I was going to say it's not really giving us too much of a glimpse here heading into tomorrow afternoon. It looks like. I was going to say we're mostly concerned. Look at Thursday. There we are. Heading into Thursday, you can see some relatively lower numbers there across Kentucky and stuff, but much higher numbers there over southern Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama. That's where we should be very concerned about how conditions are changing there in a short period of time over sections of the Mid-South and the Tennessee Valley. Again, probably as we've been talking about, the Storm Prediction Center has been considering. Again, this is going to be a potentially very dangerous tornado outbreak tomorrow. And
situation. Look at here, tornado.
I was going to say
up a little bit more now.
I was going to say the wind shear still appears to be tight. It's a little bit broader rotation with that. And what I've been following here on radar.
Look at here, very low.
Yeah. Again, not really much in the area of debris that we're seeing there, but still, I think the downdraft has weakened a little bit. What I think that helps us determine is, I think a lot of we're still seeing a very healthy updraft, and there's still very cold air with that's mixing down at the ground, and that's enhancing. Maybe there's still a little bit of debris with that, and still some broad rotation with that heading into Bosque County. So something that we're going to continue to follow up with.
You're still in the tornado warning. It's time to still shake shelter. This is it's still tightening up a lot.
Yeah. We'll see if there's room for it to tighten up, especially if this heads into the southern Dallas-Fort Worth area. If this continues to hold together, I would be interested in seeing that.
25 minutes, haven't we?
A what?
We've been on an hour.
Yeah, and again, right now we're going to pay close attention to that cell in Bosque
hour and 23
County.
Minutes.
Yeah. So again, this is a predominantly rural area. Not really much of an urban threat there, and there's not really too many people joining us in Bosque County. But I will point out again, still, if you're in any warnings, again, have many ways to receive warning information. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning, best place to be is indoors, a sturdy building away from windows. And again, if you're in a non-site built building or shelter, again, you want to consider getting especially if you're in a tornado warning or where you get some extremely intense winds with some of these, you want to consider listening to impact statements from warnings there, especially if wind gusts are if there's a potential for mobile homes to get heavily damaged or potentially destroyed by intense damaging winds.
And think about your tornado plan
too. A storm shelter. A what? And again, if you are in a tornado warning, again, they've updated the warning. It's not really radar confirmed at the moment, but it was radar confirmed just previously there. And once again, I do want to reiterate there is still a concern for maybe a potential for a tornado here heading into the Dallas area. But again, it's along the leading edge of that trough. And we're still paying very close attention to this activity up here. Still a very intense cluster of thunderstorms up here. And I think this is where I think we have some, I was going to say up here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we have still some really intense wind shear, and we have some large hail, maybe in excess of 1 inch in diameter, a strong downdraft there. We actually do have an MPing report of dime-sized hail. This is from some of our public, or maybe it could be from spotters in the area. But again, we do have some intense downdrafts with that as well. So again, we're watching the leading edge of that trough. Again, we got some severe warnings also on the back end of all this as well, near the leading edge of that trough. You can see all that convection firing up around here, and you can see where the winds really do switch out to the north, and then that really helps us determine the high amounts of wind shear that we're seeing with all this. Just looking at what we have at the surface there. Again, the leading edge of that trough might be a little bit further east. Like I would say we got that negative tilt just right around there. See, the temperatures are are 54 here. The temperature is 70 degrees here. So that's an indication that we have some very good surface heating over here. And then that's really helping to drive all this surface-based convection. And you got that enhancing with that trough, which will probably, again, enhance that wind shear and low-level lift we're getting with all this. So, again, I would pay very close attention here heading into the evening hours, especially across western parts of the much of the Metroplex. Still be on alert for potential for damaging winds with some of these cells as they develop and move into an area with some higher instability. And a non-zero chance of a tornado or two towards the Red River as well. Maybe probably not that far north where the highest instability axis here. It really does drive into sections of the Metroplex. Probably just not saying the Metroplex proper will see a substantial threat of tornadoes or anything by any means, but I think I would still be on alert for predominantly damaging winds, maybe a tornado or two here heading into north central parts of Texas as well. And again, we do have this cluster of storms. Again, some very broad wind shear with that, and we're seeing some very intense downdrafts with these, and they're mixing in at the ground, and that has led to, again, some of these have been tornado warned, and we've had I think we just so far
one now.
Yeah, and again, this warning no longer confirmed report of a tornado with it, but again, just mostly for folks around Meridian State Park, we will again keep a close eye on this, but we're mostly concerned about urban populations at this point. We'll be watching the threat of storms into the Dallas area over the next couple of hours, but again, over the short term, again, please pay close attention to warnings and developments in your area. Have a way to receive warnings relevant to your location. Again, have charge up your cell phone. Make sure you have emergency supplies on hand. And again, always have your weather radios, your flashlights, and everything handy, and your family communications plan. And again, just make sure that if you have any loved ones, especially in the threat of severe weather here heading into today or tomorrow, definitely make sure they are informed, and please be on alert to conditions across, again, much of the the lower Mississippi Valley here, heading into the Tennessee Valley. That's where the highest tornado threat will likely be tomorrow. And we will continue to post updates about this. But again, right now, as we'll continue to keep a close eye on things, I think this would be a good place to stop the live feed. But again, just to monitor conditions, and we'll jump back on if need be. But I am going to jump off of here. If you want to keep updating our audience base on things, definitely do so. But
I'm
I'm
gonna keep
going
an eye on
to.
things. Right now, I'm
Okay.
Vice Forecaster JD Rapp. You will continue to keep